Okay, so what are we talking about? Take it away.
Well, we're talking about Black Friday, but I think one of the most important things to notice is that this year, as last year, and I think it's even the year before, yeah, we've been stuck in this pandemic for quite a while now, but everything has moved to online a little bit more than we used to before that. So what we're seeing now is that the holiday retail landscape is changing and is still changing. And what we're seeing is that shoppers are starting earlier and earlier. And then we're seeing that the research phase is even 30 days or more. So they're taking their time longer to research a product and then wait for Black Friday and get going and get purchasing. And I think in 2019, from 2019 to 2020, the online sales increased from 32%. So that's a lot and it's crazy. So it's way more online. So give yourself some time to start early as well to get shoppers to find you, research, and give them information they need to make their purchase during Black Friday. Another thing we're seeing is that sustainability is a trend. And that's not something that's just for Black Friday, of course, but sustainability is becoming more important in our lives and becoming more prevalent for general purchases.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
yeah, try to do something with that and see if you can hook into this nicely with your products or services. And of course, when the online landscape is filling up, then advertising competition is becoming more and more. So what we're seeing is that the uh, advertisement is everywhere, of course. So it's also becoming more expensive. So you need to find a strategy that works for you and to stand out. Um, yeah, so that SEO can help you cut through. That's actually what we're saying is try to build organic traffic that's sustainable and that will get you your traffic in an organic way instead of buying more expensive advertisements.
And we
Um,
certainly see those numbers going a bit crazy, right? The year-on-year stats for the cost of adverts during Black Friday goes up and up. And I guess the tricky bit is if you're relying on that, you really don't know how much you're going to need to spend. You don't know how expensive it's going to be until you're in there in the day, and then suddenly either your ad budget goes through the ceiling or it runs out, and neither's good. And yeah, that obviously makes SEO look more and more appealing as a kind of earned organic channel. So it's definitely where the smart people are playing.
yeah. Otherwise, it will be uncertain. What's your balance? Are you investing a lot of money in your advertising budget, but are you getting the payoff as well in your product sales? Who knows?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, let's move on to the next one, I think.
Okie dokie.
Yes. So what we're trying to say here, and I think that's the most important message from today, preparation starts now because ranking just doesn't happen overnight. It takes a while for content to rank. So if you want to keep up with your competition, try to get your content and gear at least 45 days ahead. And of course, you can always start preparing earlier. Are we still on time for that? We are. So
just
perfect.
yeah.
Yeah, your schedule could look something like this. So 45 days in advance, you should post your promotion to your website, your calendar, and post a save the date post on social media and in your email newsletter. Just get the buzz going a little bit, and then you should work on your content strategy in the meantime. Create content that answers people's questions. We'll go into that a little bit later. And for 7 days in advance, you could post upcoming events, promotions on social media and email once again, and try to encourage other people to share your deals as well and do the same in return if you want to. And a day in advance, of course, remind people that the sale is going live and that they can get your product for a discounted price or a special deal. So this is what a schedule could look like, but it's important to start now, like in an hour.
Yeah, so I had two thoughts on that. One was, I guess this more broadly applies to any kind of seasonal marketing, like Christmas is pretty much the same principle. You need that runway. And I think there's two big reasons why that's so important to get that far ahead. One is, as you said, like if you're going to create a page and publish it, that's going to take time to get crawled, to get indexed, to start ranking, but also things like we'll talk about later. One of the tactics that you might want to use is trying to get links from other sites and getting in touch with journalists and producing stuff that gets attention. That all takes time. It takes time to email people, to get responses, to get popularity, for all that to start, and then for Google to discover that and evaluate it. So yeah, whilst it feels a bit weird to be starting a sale way in advance of a sale, you need all that that runway in order to start getting some cut through.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Okay. Right. This is an exciting proposition, isn't it? Let's do some practical stuff. Okay. So what we're looking at.
Well, I think for today we have 6 optimization categories because we wanted to make it as practical as possible for you. So we'll go over what to do with your product pages, what you can do with structured data, and that's a lot. And I think Jono will have to say about that as well.
Yeah.
Our content strategy, what should we do, what should we write about, and how should we come up with that content? Optimizing for speed and mobile is our 4th category. How you can create some buzz is our 5th, and then analysis is a very important part that shouldn't be forgotten for Black Friday, especially looking at previous years and upcoming years to see how you're doing in comparison to your regular stuff.
Nice. Let's go into that then and start with product pages, which I guess most of the people here are probably interested from an e-commerce perspective rather than kind of general services. But if you are like a service provider, you sell insurance or kind of things that aren't tangible products, the same kind of thinking will apply. Might be a little bit trickier to adapt it, but yeah, the same kind of stuff should make sense. Okay, where do we start?
We start with clarity. So
Nice.
I think for us, it might be normal to know what your product is, what it is about, and what you're trying to sell, and what does that mean. We're so stuck in our products and services, but people aren't. They are just looking around and seeing what's out there. So you should be clear. So if we're talking SEO titles here. It should be your SEO title should be clear. It should be what is your page about? Does it answer a question? Is it a product page? You have to guide people and help them understand what they're looking at. Make it as easy as possible. People are lazy, so just get them in there and make it as easy as possible for them to understand what you're trying to say. I think for the second one we had differentiation, which is a hard word.
Sorry.
And yeah, what we mean by that is if all your page titles are generic, you're missing out on an opportunity to stand out from the others, from your competition, but also to distinguish between your own SEO titles, your own other pages. A product page should just look different than your contact page and just make clear where are people and help them guide the process. And then we have urgency, question mark. Jono, moving on.
Yeah, so I guess a lot of this aligns quite neatly with a lot of the kind of classic pillars of marketing, right? Where you want to be playing with things like scarcity, where you say there's only 10 left, or maybe have the special offer only runs until Tuesday. And you can start to maybe trigger some emotional responses in your title. You definitely want to, that shouldn't be your primary focus. Like for page titles in particular, you want to be making sure that you're using the right keywords and crafting the right messaging. But if you can massage them a little bit to get a little bit of urgency or other factors in there, then that can be really valuable. Remember, this is what turns up in the search results. It's your snippet text. It's essentially your advert for your page. So anything you can do to kind of entice or compel is going to be pretty valuable. And then, yeah, I mentioned emojis as well. So we recently added a feature in Yoast SEO Premium to allow you to be able to easily put emojis into your page titles and descriptions. Now, as somebody in the comments has pointed out, they don't always work because Google might choose to ignore them. Like if you just go lots of spammy $signs, they're going to ignore that. But with the right messaging, it can, and you kind of fairly subtle usage, you can get really good cut through. You can differentiate, you can stand out. It's quite a nice little tactic. It's worth exploring.
And especially during Black Friday, it might be this limited time period where you can try and just have fun with it as well, but just don't overdo it and give it a go.
Yeah, and if that doesn't work, your message might just fall back to the content without the emojis. So you've got quite a nice, graceful fallback, which is a nice tactical opportunity. So yeah, spend a lot of time playing with this. And as Iris said, like it's not just, you've got to differentiate against your other pages, but also against your competitors. Like, why should somebody click your title? There's a real, like most of your time wants to be spent crafting this. Cool, okay, that's titles. What about descriptions?
Descriptions, yeah, of course we got the titles and then we got the descriptions. And yeah, we all know meta descriptions are there to generate click-throughs from the search engines, and they need to be a lot of different stuff. They need to convince people to click. And how do you do that? So what we think is that they should be unique. It has to be something that stands out. Don't take these generic
yeah, these are bad examples.
These are bad examples. Don't do this. But then if you're a Jack Wolfskin, Man, Auckland, Winter, Texapor boot seller, how could you do this differently? So how can you stand out? Think of something that will stand out from this other generic stuff. It has to spark interest. What are you saying? Does it entice me to click on it? So the compelling bits make people want to click, know what they're clicking on, so help them understand as well. And I think an important one is solve the user's pain. I think we're a lot of the time we're stuck in our perspectives and don't focus too much on what you're trying to send out into the public, but let's see what are your users' problems and how can you help solve those with your product or service. And another thing that ties into that nicely is that you have to overcome objections from people. You have to take away doubts that your content and your product answers their question, solves their problem, make it as easy as possible for them, once again, to click and understand what you're trying to sell.
And you've not got a huge amount of space to do that, right? So we're saying do all that in a very small area, but also think about Black Friday specifically. People are very price sensitive. They're going to absolutely demand that you have things like free shipping and free returns. Yeah. There's a whole bunch of extra considerations. So you really need to craft every letter of this. And again, every single page, every single product, you need to be really differentiating and standing out. This stuff is the difference between somebody just skimming over a result and really clicking and getting in there. It doesn't matter if you rank first, if your meta description isn't going to convince me to click, and then Google's going to knock you down. So yeah, this stuff's key. I mean, it's all key, but also this.
One of the keys. But I think it's important to invest your time in as well, because if you have, let's say you have 5 of your most important products, invest some time in this, and then hopefully it will pay off as well.
Definitely.
Especially on Friday.
And then URLs are interesting as well, right?
Yeah. I think we've got the generic URLs in WordPress as well. So check for yourself if you're using these. If so, please change them. And I think what we're trying to say is that they should be easy. It should be, if you look at it, it should explain what you're looking at. So I add an example at the bottom. It should just be your, for example, yoast.com/product name. So Yoast SEO or whatever, and then add a category name. Make sure that it just describes the thing and that it's easy to read and understand on what page you are. And if you have established URLs that you have been using for a long time, please don't change them. People might know your URLs, but if you do, which in some cases might be handy, make sure to redirect them, because otherwise there will be dead ends, and that will be a shame. If people do have buyer's intent or looking at you and they cannot seem to find your product, that will be a shame if they get lost.
Yeah, it's nothing worse than clicking a result and getting a 404 error because somebody changed the page and didn't set up a redirect. So yeah, and like a critical sale point, that's the last thing you want to be doing. Like, definitely don't go out of your way to go and change all of your existing URLs if they're okay-ish. But if you're starting from scratch, or if you're building new stuff, spend the extra time and effort really crafting those and thinking about how do I make it clear. Yeah. And then media, my favorite. Images and videos are obviously, once we've got them into the site, compelling and convincing them to take that next step is going to be hugely reliant on, do I have the right visuals? Do I have the right quality and size of images? There's a whole bunch of stuff here that's worth considering.
Yeah, and I think what comes down to this as well is be unique. Don't use stock photography and some boring people standing there and just trying to sell your product for you. But then people have seen this, they've become blind for these kind of stock photography. So make sure that you're original, but also the quality of the image matters. So make sure it's high resolution, high quality, and then don't forget about the alt text as well in there. Also, for SEO. And just make sure people, once again, make it as easy as possible for them to understand your product. So you add multiple angles of your products, styles, context, so they have a genuine look and feel of how your product looks and feels. But and understand what you're trying to sell, and if it's the product they want.
I remember many years ago, I can't remember which one it was, but one of the big American footwear brands invested a huge amount of resource in taking additional product photos of the underside of the shoes, like the bottom of the soles, because it turned out that people wanted to know, like, does this look like it's going to grip onto the floor? Is it a high quality material? And then that was so successful, they also started doing a cut through shot of what does the inside of the footwear look like. And now a whole bunch of people do that because now people have these questions. And I guess the same applies in a lot of industries. It's not enough just to take a photo of the thing and show it. People are going to wonder, what's the texture? How does this look from different angles? How does it compare? How big is it? All sorts of stuff. So yeah, answer those questions.
Yeah, and talking about questions, I'm seeing a question in the chat. What's the point in adding descriptions of images or even tags? So what's the point, Jono?
What's the point? So I guess there's two flavors. One is the alt attributes thing you mentioned. So for accessibility reasons and for secondarily SEO reasons, we really ought to be describing our images. You want to make sure that somebody who is relying on assistive technology or is, say, a search engine can consume the content of that image without needing to look at the pixels. So if you want to see the underside of a shoe showing the ridge texture that you want to really describe what's in that can have SEO benefits. It's something we recommend doing, but more broadly, it's just be a good citizen of the web and help the 20%, I think now, of estimated internet users who have some kind of visual impairment or benefit from assistive technology. And then outside of that, product pages, it's always quite hard to write unique, interesting, compelling descriptions at scale. And actually your images might be a hack for that. If you can describe the content of the image in a way that tells an interesting story, that might be half the work done for describing the product description and content in a way that would be hard to otherwise. So yeah, it's a good hack, well worth spending the time on.
Yeah, make sure, like Jono said, be inclusive, and that also broadens your audience of potential customers and stuff. So that sounds a bit selfish, but it helps people be included.
Yeah, absolutely. And then customer reviews are huge, right? Once you've got those sales, how do you close the loop and get some more value out of them?
Yeah, I think what we're seeing is that social proof really helps people get convinced that they should buy with you, that the product is valid, what does it do, and if it's legit. So it aids conversion. So you're taking away doubts from people, like, is this a good product or not? So you should definitely actively look for reviews that are authentic. So probably a third-party website as well that isn't registered by you. So I think that's a good one to take into account as well. Like you said, get a relatable name, face, and role. So sometimes reviews can feel a little bit off. So, and most of the time people can use fake reviews. So I think you should really show people they're actual people that tried your product or similar to you, and then make sure they trust you. I think they build trust as well.
Yeah, definitely. And like that distinction of, is this a review or a testimonial, and is it of the product or the service or the brand, is quite important. And like you want to try and craft that a little bit to make sure that you're aligning the messaging and the social proof with the thing you're trying to convince people of, but that's hard. One of the ways you might do that is try and incentivize people to leave reviews, reward them for going through that process. However, there are so many laws and legal requirements around this. You can't pay people to leave good reviews. You can't edit the content they give you. At least you shouldn't. There's all sorts of gray areas. So be really careful with that. But what you can do is ask, and you can make sure that you've built processes and say, you know what, thanks for buying our thing. If you like it, please go here, follow this process, fill out this form, give them facilities to upload a photo of the product that they're using. Try and make that as easy and as frictionless as possible. And then you start to, the more of those you get, the more human it becomes, the more likely somebody shopping sees somebody who looks like them, who sounds like they're in a similar position. All this stuff starts reinforcing.
Yeah, and I think a question in the chat is, do you recommend review sites? And yeah, we do, because they generally show people like Trustpilot or G2. People find that when they Google your product as well, and it's just an independent website that shows that you are trustworthy. So I think that's always a good idea to help people make their decision.
Yeah, do both, definitely. Because I certainly, if I see a site that says we have 30,000 5-star reviews and there's no proof that that's authentic, I'm going to get a little bit nervous. So yeah, having some kind of social proof for your social proof makes sense. That's nice.
Social proof. Okay.
Yep. And then, so you've got them as far as the product. I think one of the things that people kind of overlook is making the next action really clear. And that's not always going to be click and add the thing to cart. If you're doing this right, you're going to be getting a whole bunch of people to your pages who are interested or compelled or confused or have questions, who aren't necessarily ready to buy the thing immediately, especially with the kind of pressure of Black Friday and scarcity, etc. So you've got to consider there are multiple potential options that these people might want to take, depending on where they are in that journey. And yeah, your objective is to get them all the way across the line, get them to buy, but that might take multiple steps. So for people who have questions, they want to know about availability, they want to know about shipping, they want to know about the product quality, they want to know about the history of the organization. Make sure there are routes to that. Answer the kinds of questions, help people who don't understand your product sector become experts. Like if I'm going to buy a new washing machine, I know nothing about washing machines. I'm not equipped to go and add this one to my cart because I don't know what these abbreviations mean. I don't know whether 1,000 is a good number of spins. I have none of this. So help give me the context that I need to take that next step. And yes, a big buy button is a good idea, but there are other options and other routes that people need to take. And quite often we see like Black Friday, oh, my bounce rate is 99% because everyone's going and buying on price. Well, they still want and need information, and you can help convert more of them if you handhold them through that.
And then maybe especially in the period leading up to it, you can use your content strategy for this for different intent for people. So people who need to be guided, educated, or supported. So build something for people, and hopefully, if you optimize it well, the people who need a nudge or need guidance can find your content accordingly.
Yeah, like this is content that you should already have, right? That washing machine brand should have information about how to understand how many spins is a good spin, and then I can go through that journey gradually, definitely. Especially for larger considered purchases, people are going to do a lot of the research, as you said earlier, way in advance of Black Friday, and then wait for the moment to pull the trigger. So you've got to make sure that you've answered those questions way in advance.
Yeah.
Something content strategy. Who knew?
It's coming up, but not now.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. Let's sidestep into structured data, which is my favorite part. So I guess we've talked kind of like broad marketing strategy stuff, which is about convincing humans to take action. The layer underneath that is how do you convince search engines that you are the right provisioner, the right supplier, the right retailer, and a big part of that is structured data, right?
Yeah, it is. And we're talking structured data, we're talking rich results, so that might be a little vague for some people. And as you can see, we've added an example of a rich results, and they are a special brand of search result made to stand out and help users achieve their task or get an answer more quickly. And they can be recipe carousels or just complete interfaces of things as jobs and flights. So it can be as complete as possible, but it makes it easier for people to have a good look of what a product is like. And getting featured in a rich result is super rewarding as a product or store owner. And it's located at the so-called position 0. So you're at the top, you're standing out, it's rich. For example, for products like a guitar, they can look like this. And but it's good to know that this information just doesn't magically appear. And you have to give Google information about your product so they can understand and reflect that in the search results. And you do that by adding structured data.
Me too. I really like that example on the right. You can see the second Fender guitar has star ratings and an overview of the reviews. And because it's a variable product, like there's a red one, a green one, a big one, a small one, it gives you a range of prices and the stock status. And you're like, if I'm going, where can I buy this now? Where's the best, most trustworthy result? I'm not going to click that top one. Doesn't matter that it's outranking the second one. The second one is really compelling. Like it's overcome a bunch of objections. It's given me the insight. So yeah, this stuff's really powerful. And yeah, this is all powered by product structured data, which if you are using Yoast SEO and our Shopify add-on or Yoast SEO for WordPress plus our WooCommerce add-on or Yoast SEO for Shopify, that's a mouthful, you get most of this automatic, which is pretty cool. Like we do all of the heavy lifting behind the scenes to make sure that we're generating this, structuring it and outputting it in a way that Google understands. All you've really got to do is fill in the information. Define your prices, define your stock availability, etc. And if you're on Shopify, use one of the review apps that we integrate with, like OpenU. And then all of this ties together magically. As you get reviews, the star ratings update automatically. This stuff's super powerful. If you're not already playing with this, then it's definitely worth going and investigating.
Yeah, and that we do that automatically doesn't mean that it's easy or that it's just. It's very important to do this. So, and we're trying to make this as easy as possible for you to stand out. So it's definitely worth looking into if you're already doing this, or if you could do that and help your product stand out from the others, especially if the competition is high or if your competition isn't doing this. If you do, that might help you get that edge over your competitors.
Yeah, and a bunch of our SEO and content analysis feedback stuff in the product will align with this. So things like we recently added a check to say, have you defined an SKU code for your products? Because if you don't have an SKU code, then you might be less eligible for these types of results. So we'll catch things that you've missed or that you need to do, for example, and then handhold you through that. But mostly it's going to be go and describe those products as richly as possible. Don't just copy paste a manufacturer description. Don't do the minimum amount of configuration in something like WooCommerce. Really go through every single one of those tabs, fill in all the information that you have, really make it rich and full, and then all that sort of stuff can start appearing in the SERPs.
Hopefully,
Worth
yeah.
the effort. Yeah, hopefully. But yeah, there's no guarantee. Like Google, a bit hit and miss with this, but yeah, the more you craft it, and the more time you invest, the more likely you'll be to turn up here. All
There
right, this is the big one.
The
This is where we
content.
go.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
This is SEO at its finest. So
Yep.
getting your content strategy in check, that is something you can do right now. I can start with tomorrow or in half an hour. And where do you start? Because it can be overwhelming to think of a whole content strategy and just how can you get going if you're not doing this already. So what I would recommend is getting some input from your keyword research, because what your users are, what terms they're using, their search terms are your keywords. So you have to find out some information, or what terms are they using? Do they use a specific word that you're using as well, or is it something totally different than your own jargon? And I think I have a SEMrush example added here on the right, because there are different types of intents, especially e-commerce intent. There are actually 4 types of search intent, but I think for e-commerce there are 3 that are most important. So there's informational intent, and that helps people understand your product and answers questions they might have. Then there's commercial intent, and that will make them help them make their choice. Wow. So that guides them through the process. And then there's just transactional intent. There's the buyer intent is already there, and they want to just get going and buy the product. So as we can see on the right, 44, so I think it's 45% is informational intent on a specific site. So you can really look into this and where should you get your attention going.
And as an example, I think with the washing machine scenario,
mm-hmm.
you can imagine that if I've searched for a very specific washing machine, I know exactly which. That's a really weird example, isn't it? I've Googled a very specific washing machine. I know exactly which one I want, and what I want from Google is a list of sites that are selling that takes me directly to the product page, and I'm going to click on the one with the best combination of price and star reviews and reputation. However, if I search for a kind of more general term like 1,000 spin washing machines, what I want is a comparison. I want to go, okay, take me to, I know what category of thing I want. Actually, maybe I want a category page, or I want a top 10 list, or I want something which gives me options that I can evaluate that take me through some shortcutting. Whereas like how many spins should it have is a blog post or an article or a review. And you can see how many people are searching for these kinds of keywords, where is their opportunity versus my competitors, and then craft where you're going to spend your energy accordingly. You don't want to be going, we want to rank first for washing machines if it's super aggressive and super competitive and fewer people are searching for it than some of the other areas. So you want to really reflect what are people searching for, where is there a gap that you can add value and compete on, and then craft accordingly.
Yeah, and that also comes down to what we always recommend is you aiming for the long tail keywords. So washing machines just won't do it, and also that's just too vague to rank on. So make sure that you have different types of content for different types of intents, like Jono said.
Yeah.
All right. So also a great tip is to find related key phrases. As I said before, you might be using words that your audience just isn't using, or they're just using a different version. So you'll have to look into related key phrases to your own key phrase. I've added our SEMrush integration in here, with which you can easily look for keyword data that people are using in a certain country or area. And by doing this, you can find out what words people are using. So, and if you can use those and get them into your content, you can resonate with more people and broaden your ranking chances. And I think that's very important too. You're already putting in the effort, you're investing time into creating a great content strategy, some good copy for people, and then why not make sure they'll be able to find it as well and broaden your chances of ranking.
Yeah, you want to be like, almost all businesses have, you've mentioned this a few times, almost all businesses have internal language that they get caught up in, and they forget that you need to be talking the same language as the people searching. And that's not one word or one phrase. There's a whole little ecosystem of types of things that people might search for, which probably align quite neatly to one concept or one product or one page that you have. Yeah, you want to be mentioning all of those and making sure that you're capturing that demand as well. So yeah, starting with one core concept, but then going, okay, what's nearby this, what's related, what's close enough that it also makes sense to talk about on this page. Capturing all of that is a great way to build on the work you've already done.
Yeah,
nice.
cool. Yeah, and I think this is very relevant for Black Friday as well. You have to, in your content, this is just a general tip, not specific for Black Friday, but also for Black Friday, you can use current events and news for your content strategy. If you can find something, if for instance, for Black Friday, that applies to your niche, not your niece, that's weird, but maybe for your niece as well. Maybe she loves outdoors or skiing or parasailing. So if you can make something connected to your product, so Black Friday gift guide for parasailing enthusiasts. If you're selling specific parts for parasailing, for instance, just connect them to your niche. And then also don't forget about internal linking, because those pages that are very specific for a certain period of the year tend to miss out links, and maybe people want to look into your product a little bit more or find other categories you're selling as well. So make sure you set up the internal linking strategy for your pages as well to help them find what they're looking for.
Nice. Very nice. Ah, yes, my favorite. Actually authentic content, right?
Yeah, so what we're trying to, with blogging, you can really add a personal touch to your website, so people are more likely to buy from you because they can, they feel like they know you a little bit, and then that might help with conversion as well. So we added some tips. So our first one is you have to be relatable. Always put yourself in your reader's shoes. What problems do they have? And what questions are they asking about? And use those in your content strategy. To answer that, just write in a way that's relatable for your reader and focus on their needs, like we said before. And it sounds simple enough, but it's easy enough to fall into the trap of creating content about your products or services.
Oh, corporate speak.
Yes.
Yep.
Very.
Yep.
That's a big risk you might be doing already. So check yourself for that as well. Then you have to create high quality content. Your content should be informative, funny, relevant, just a little bit different than others to stand out as well. Can be challenging, but definitely worth investing, especially we also got Google's helpful content update like a month ago, I think. So high quality content is becoming more and more important. It was already, but of course it front and center once again with this update. So make sure it's readable and it's appealing, and then consistency. People have to know that if you're putting out a blog October 4th this year and then come back in 2 years, people are not likely come back and swing by your site or whatever. So make sure you have to, you think about a content planning to make it easier for yourself to be consistent and show up and be there.
Yep.
Our fourth tip is being original. I think it's also a little bit ties into relatability as well. There's lots of competition out there, so make sure you always have something unique to offer to the table and you bring to the table. So make sure that your voice is shining through and you're not being boring, and you have to stand out a little bit.
The combination. Oh, sorry, go.
Oh no, you go.
I was going to say the combination of original and opinionated, I think, is the difference between winning and losing. So many sites and so many businesses will have a blog that is just the kind of generic corporate speak that's just saying, we sell washing machines, check out our washing machines. Here's a guide to the best washing machines. Oh, look, shock horror, it's ours. Here's an internal link, washing machine. And it's never going to win an Oscar. No human is ever going to read and enjoy and engage it. And it's never going to achieve anything. And actually the time you've wasted on creating that day in, day out probably could have been best spent elsewhere. However, conversely, if you're going to write something that is opinionated, that's maybe a bit controversial, that some people might disagree with and others might agree with strongly, that's an original stance written by a relatable human being, suddenly people are going to read it, they're going to link to it, they're going to talk about it with their friends, they're going to retweet it, they're going to do all these engagement things, which not only, yes, you're hopefully going to drive a few direct sales off it, but are going to show Google that you deserve to rank, that are going to create the kind of value signals which reinforce that you're ranking in the right place. All this good SEO stuff does require that you're a little bit brave, but that's the difference. Like, Google has enough content about washing machines around Black Friday. They have no incentive to rank and index and show your tedious blog posts to their users. That you've really got to make sure that you're doing something that's authentically, genuinely valuable and interesting and differentiated. Otherwise, you're just going to be putting more web pages onto the net for not a lot of points. So this is definitely a big challenge.
Yeah, it will help people and Google understand your authority as well and your view on things. So
Yep.
they'll find you easier. Yeah, and also ask for engagement, because if people engage, your audience opens up, they share on Twitter, like Jono just said, and just get the word out there, and hopefully have people share your content as well. And just ask
Yep.
for it, because it might not just happen by default, but just ask people to leave their comment. What do they think about the situation? Did they find their answers? Are there any other questions they might have? Give them the opportunity to ask, to engage with your content.
Nice. Definitely.
Ah, yes. Then we're on to storytelling. I think storytelling is effective on product pages because it allows you to show people why your product is very awesome, instead of just telling them that we could tell you all about our SEO courses and go on and on about those and lose ourselves in what we think is important. But if I could show you and you would be like, oh, this is cool, wouldn't that be more convincing than me just talking about it like I'm doing right now? Um, so showing is always better than just telling. And very important here, once again, is to focus on the problem instead of the product. Stories need a problem, and focusing on the problem usually results in great sales copy. And if you use stories on your product pages, you'll automatically shift away from your product to the problem and the solution your product offers. And
Yep.
your sales copy will benefit from that, and hopefully your sales will too. Um, and yeah, so what does storytelling mean? Should I write a book a little bit on your site? No, you shouldn't. But examples, review, testimonials, there are just little stories about your product. And as we've said before, testimonials and reviews increase trust. Real customers share their real experiences, and they are recognizable for people. And if you're treating testimonials and reviews as kind of stories, that will allow you to make them more powerful.
Yeah, and you can go seek those out. You can ask for feedback. You can do research. You can quote people. Like, all of this is really good stuff.
And then internal linking once again. So internal linking is very important as it defines the relationship between content. Because before your content can rank, it needs links, and Google will find your posts and pages best when they're linked to from somewhere on the web. Yeah, you have to let Google know what is important. And by adding internal links, you can help Google understand the structure of your site. It shows hierarchy. So what is your category page? What are your posts? What are your pages? And then let me see. You should always make them contextual as well, your internal links. So don't be like, go here to just go here and then link here. So make sure that you're adding context to the link so Google understands what this link entails and where you're leading people to. So I think that's a good one to check your site for contextual links, or if you're using generic stuff like click here or stuff like that, you shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, that's bad. Like, really describe where you're linking and why.
Yes.
And there's a fear of linking out from product pages. Like, people go, oh, I've got this page ranking, I've got them here. Don't give them a chance to go elsewhere. Keep them locked in, and then they might convert. Well, actually, if they're there and they're looking for more information, and you make that harder by not giving them easy routes to other stuff, then they're just going to go. Like, you never help facilitate their journeys, and that's very rarely going to be, I have arrived, I am buying the thing. Like, so many of these people are going to go, I've arrived, I don't know if 1,000 is a good number, washing machine spins, help me, guide me, take me on a journey that 2 days later, 3 clicks later, 3 tabs later might result in an add to cart. But yeah, don't make it super easy for both users and search engines to follow those journeys and those routes naturally.
Yeah, help them in their customer journey and make their user experience as good as possible, especially like you're saying, if they're taking a little longer to convince, maybe they come back to you if they had a nice user experience on your page as well. And if they just stuck in there and they're trapped, that might be, it sounds like an ideal situation for yourself to have people be stuck that they're buying, but realistically, we all know the backspace button on our phones. So
yeah,
let's prevent them from finding that too soon.
For sure. Dead ends are bad for people and SEO.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a good bit. Let's talk about speed and mobile, because as ever, mobile is where it's at. Speed is important. Yeah, we've talked about this a lot on our webinars, haven't we? That like, speed is now kind of officially a ranking factor, and is only going to get more important, because when a website is slow, you get annoyed. consciously or subconsciously. And as that happens, you become less likely to convert, less likely to browse, less likely to engage, to recommend, etc. And there's a really solid relationship between faster and better in terms of like real money. So yeah, this stuff's really important.
Yeah, and also it's a ranking factor. So you're kind of doing that for Google as well, but it's also so important for user experience, because I think we've become a little bit spoiled, because if a page doesn't load within 3 seconds, I'm done. I'm going back and clicking another link. So just prevent people from getting bored and moving away from your site. Make it as easy as possible once again. And I think we categorize them in 3 broad categories. Maybe you could tell us a little bit more about this, Jono?
Sure. So there's a whole world of stuff you're going to want to look around here. We have a whole bunch of content on Yoast.com about where to start. And it's probably not with these. You probably want to start with measuring and analysis and benchmarking. But when you get to the kind of heavy lifting of my site is not very fast, I want to make it faster, you're broadly going to be looking at something like getting a caching plugin or system, depending on what your platform you're on. If you're on WordPress, that might be WP Rocket or W3 Total Cache or NitroPack. Others exist, but those are interesting. And that will do some of the heavy lifting on preventing slow stuff from happening in the first place. And then once you get beyond that, the next wins are going to be in changing and optimizing the way that your theme loads or works, and that might need some development resource or some other plugins and logic, and removing bottlenecks and kind of legacy stuff. Like a lot of templates and themes were built many years ago and have just been iterated since. Best practices changed and evolved, so you're going to want to rip out some of that old stuff. And then really the big wins for many people are going to be shave some kilobytes off your images, compress your video better, and make sure that you're lazy loading stuff below the fold. You're not shoving loads of big images down people's mobile phones when they're not immediately visible on the page. And there's combinations of plugins and theme modifications you can use for this. But a lot of the raw site stuff is going to be when you're taking your photographs or compiling your videos, really take the extra effort to say, where is the trade-off between quality and file size? If I knock that quality line down from 70 to 60, yeah, it might get a little bit pixelated, but if I half the file size of the image, maybe that's a good trade-off. And do that really with finesse over every single one of your assets and reduce that overall overhead. That's really good practice. I saw earlier there was a question about, we said use really high quality images, and then yeah, they're going to be slow. They're going to have heavy weight. So yeah, aim for really high quality, but make sure that you're balancing that with file size, and you're using plugins, theme optimization, WordPressy stuff, Shopify stuff, to make sure that you're sending the right size image to the right person based on their device. But yeah, you don't want to be drowning people in big images. Trixie. Okay. And speaking of speed and mobile, yeah, this is a big deal as well.
Yeah, I think hopefully all of you kind of know that Google's mobile first index went live more than 1.5 years ago. So that means that Google doesn't look at your web pages first when it's indexing, but it looks at your mobile content first. That's the most important. So it's very important to fine-tune your mobile content. So that means a lot of things. You can really optimize for mobile, but then, for instance, you can write for a small screen. So make sure that you fix your font size. Your typography needs to be top-notch, and make sure that you have enough room between clickable elements, and make your submenu clickable. And there's a lot of optimization opportunities you can do to fine-tune for mobile content, so that people won't be pinching and zooming to see and use your interface, and make it as hard as possible for them with their fat fingers to go in there.
Tell me about it.
Yeah,
and especially, I guess, with Black Friday, a lot of people are going to be sat on the sofa watching TV with a phone in their hand going, I wonder what deals there are. I'm going to go check out washing machines. Yeah, and if you make that hard, they're going to be less likely to engage and go through. You're going to remove all that friction. You're going to make it mobile first, make it super easy to use. And that's just a given now. If you're not already in that position, you're running out of time, but it's still worth doing what you can to make it easier and faster to use on a mobile phone.
Yeah. And talking about running out of time, I think we'll have to speed it up a little bit.
Go on then, go, create a buzz.
Create some buzz for this. Okay, let's go over this. So creating some buzz is just get the word going and get your deals out there. So we recommend starting off with a marketing plan, just knowing what you're doing, create a plan of the tech, and especially a calendar. So what's going out when, where, and how. So when, on what days, where are you doing Facebook, Instagram, email marketing, and how, what you're trying to say in these messages. And some recommendations you can think about is you can announce your sale, you can remind people, do some exclusive deals or sneak peeks, just get people involved in your products.
Yep, get people excited in the run-up, right? So they're ready to buy. Makes sense.
And also a perfect opportunity to optimize is optimizing your social snippets. So for instance, if you want to get on people's wish lists, make sure that your social snippets look attractive. And with Yoast SEO, you can really easily optimize your social snippets so that they look attractive for people. And maybe you can even get in those Pinterest top 10 lists for your certain niche. So just get on a gift guide or get something fun going and optimize your social templates. Yeah. Oh, I think this is huge, Jono.
Sure. And then one of the big bits we haven't touched on, which is a huge part of SEO still, is getting links. You definitely shouldn't be going out and buying links. I would recommend against handing over large sums of money to third parties like agencies to go and buy links for you. But you do need to be thinking about, if you want to convince Google that you really deserve the top slot, having lots of other sites authentically and naturally link to you and saying good things about you is going to be a huge part of making that happen. And one of the tactics you can use for Black Friday in particular is think about the types of things that journalists want to write about and cover. And you can maybe go look at what they've done in previous years. What kinds of topics trend? What kinds of things get covered in trending newspapers? What's popular on Google Discover and in Google News? And then do your own versions of that. And that might be top guide lists. It might be recommendations. It might be comparisons. It might be brand overviews, that sort of thing. But you want to be creating content specifically designed to get in front of journalists and publishers so that they link back to you and they say to their readers, look, we found this awesome, interesting, funny thing. Here's a link, go check it out. And that will drive your SEO directly. And you can really turbocharge how visible your pages are by getting links of that kind. It's tricky to do. There's a lot of noise. Everyone else is doing it. But if you've got the time and the budget, then trying to get that, craft those kinds of campaigns can be a huge deal. Okay.
Yes. Email marketing.
And then your favorite bit.
Close to my heart. Yeah. So email marketing, I think for Black Friday, it's important to keep it simple. Inboxes are overflowing. People just want their information as easily as possible. So look at what you did last year, what worked, what didn't, and make sure that you use segments to distinguish your actual current customers and potential customers, and make sure that you have different offerings for your different target groups. And just keep it simple, and maybe think about what you're doing after purchase. So maybe follow up with a drip feed after a purchase to help people get a good experience after buying. And think about, just make a planning what you can do to help people with email marketing, as it sounds a little bit boring, but it can be the most direct way of talking to your customers or potential customers.
Yeah, I guess why start from scratch every year, right? If you have an email list of people who bought last year and you've got tactics that work, then you can build on that. Okay, last section, I think.
I think so too.
In 30 seconds or less then, let's go.
Not sure if that will work out, but we can try. I think analysis is a big part for Black Friday, and especially if you're thinking about future you or past you, help them out. So if you can get your analysis going quite nicely, that will help you in the future as well. So first of all, start out with setting targets for your KPIs. So what metrics and KPIs do you use and which ones are relevant for your business? Please don't measure stuff because of the sake of measuring. What is success for you? Determine what defines success and see what metrics fit with that. So does that mean open-in clicks for your newsletter? Is it engagement, or what's relevant for you? And if you can compare that with your regular stuff as well. Makes sense. And then check your e-commerce tracking. So if you own an online shop, you want to gather your e-commerce data as well. And it is easily done in Google Analytics, and it really facilitates you, but make sure that it's set up correctly, and make sure to read up and see if you've done that correctly to get the most out of it. Yeah, especially things like funnel reports on checkouts that might have multiple steps. You really want to see where people are dropping out, and then you can do the work just in time for Black Friday to fill in some of those gaps and make things easier. Yeah. And then the bane of my existence. Your favorite, UTM tagging. Yeah. I think this is very important for Black Friday, but also for your regular campaigns. Use UTM tagging whenever you're using an internal link as well. And I've added some examples. So for UTM tagging, for as a source, make sure that you add Facebook, newsletter, Instagram, whatever your source you're using. The medium, is it social? Is it email? Is there something different? And for a campaign, well, we're trying to be original here, Black Friday 2022. And then if it's interesting for you, you can add the content UTM as well to see how your buttons are performing, how your text links are performing, and how your images, for example, are performing, and to see what's working and what isn't, so you can adapt if necessary.
And if this sounds alien to you, it's definitely worth going and checking out the Google Analytics help documentation, presuming you're using Google Analytics. It's the most commonly used one. You can, tag all of your campaign stuff so that you can monitor how it's doing in different contexts. Makes sense.
Keep an eye on your real-time stats in Google Analytics, because we're talking about a limited time period here. So monitor activity as it happens on your site, so you're able to identify changes, sudden drops, like Jono said, the goals and funnels, and check them regularly to see if they're performing like you expect it to be. Maybe your checkout is broken or something happens, so you can act upon it when it happens and not after Black Friday or whenever. So
you want to notice if stuff breaks, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, that is it. But wait. Oh,
we've got something for you. We got a little present, and that's our checklist. It's exclusive for our webinar visitors, and I saw that we're talking a little bit too fast sometimes, so sorry about that. But luckily, we've made a clickable Black Friday. It's interactive checklist that includes all our relevant resources on SEO titles, landing pages, product pages, how to write a meta descriptions. We've got a lot of content out there, and maybe it's also a nice thing to read as well as talk about it. And then there's something very exclusive that we have here. 30% off all our WordPress products, just exclusively for you, if you use the discount code PFBF2022. So prepare
for Black Friday. Aha, okay, I see.
So feel free to use that and get your store or get your store ready for Black Friday. You still have the time, so it would be a shame if you pass by this opportunity if you're wanting to buy any of our products, and get it at 30% off, so we can help each other make the best out of the Black Friday sale this year.
I know there's a whole bunch of people who run Yoast SEO and WooCommerce for their stores, but don't use our WooCommerce add-on, and that's the thing that really stitches together the structured data and unlocks all the firepower. So definitely worth looking at. Cool. Okay, that's us. Wow, that was a lot. Yeah, apologies to everyone who said that was too fast. It was indeed, but we had a lot to get through. But hopefully that PDF will be helpful, and you can rewatch the recording later. And here's Nino with some more exciting information, I'm sure.
Yes, definitely. First of all, I want to thank you both, Iris and Jono, for this wonderful webinar. Sometimes it was maybe too fast for some of you, so please watch the replay that we will send you tomorrow through email. Also, just get the checklist next to it, so you can really get the checklist and then the information from Iris and Jono, so you really nail that SEO, get that SEO ready for your Black Friday. I do quickly want to go through some questions, because there were many questions. If you see an interesting question, if you go at the bottom at the Ask a Question section, you can also upvote your favorite question. So if you really want to hear an answer on one of those, just upvote it and we'll get there. First of all, Jono, Iris, the checklist, is there anything that you want to stress people they should start with?
Ooh.
Because it was quite a lot of information. I can imagine not everyone has time to write blogs and do everything. Do you know what they should start with?
I think maybe the structured data bit is very interesting for people to look into if they're already doing that. And if they're not, that can be an easy win, but also optimizing your meta descriptions and your product pages as well. Last year, we did a webinar on writing nice product pages, so that might be worth looking into. So it just depends on whatever type of person you are. There are so many optimization opportunities. Just pick whatever works for you. You can't do it all, or at least I don't think that's possible, but just get going with what sounds appealing to you.
Yeah, cool. So do as much as possible, and if not, there's a Black Friday next year as well.
Yep,
it's true.
And then you can get ready for that. Okay, so first question, you answered this slightly already, Jono, but it got quite some upvotes, so maybe we can go over it again. It says, doesn't high quality images slow the page down, as they tend to be large files?
Yeah, it can do, but you can optimize the files and make them a bit smaller. And then if you're using a decent platform like WooCommerce with WordPress with some performance plugins, or Shopify out of the box, those systems will find the best combination of size, file, and dimensions and try and manage that trade-off. But typically, bigger is fine, and the systems will constrain that for the most part.
Yeah, and personally, I'm using Squoosh.app a lot. Would you recommend that as well?
Yeah, that's built by a bunch of Googlers. So yeah, that's a really good one. It's good for like one at a time. If you want something systemized, then look at Photoshop or whatever process you're using to produce them. But yeah, if you want to go, I want that image to be smaller, Squoosh is great.
Cool. Thanks, you. And the next question, Jono, you or Iris, I'm not sure who did, but one of you mentioned internal linking and also on product pages. But where do you suggest putting internal links on a product page?
I think we have a really nice PDF, I will find it in a minute, about the anatomy of a product page. And if you look into that, then you'll see what a structure of an ideal product page should look like. And there should be pain points as well, and just help people overcome objections. And then I think adding it there, and internal linking, and helping people understand what pain points, what kind of features you're using, maybe even a link to those. So get them in context, in your content, in context. So just work them in there throughout, but then just make it flow naturally.
And related products are good, right? So and don't just dump out of you. Go show me a cheaper version of this. Show me the bigger version of this. Show me this in blue, and help steer people through to those alternative routes.
Yeah.
Cool. Good advice. Good advice. Thank you very much. I hope that answers the question. Okay, next questions. You also talked about site speed. And Charlotte is asking, what is the best loading time for a product e-commerce site, and how can you make it faster?
Best is complicated, but and speed is a complicated thing to measure. I would go and run your website through Google Page Speed Insights, which will give you 2 scores. It will give you a how did this test perform out of 100, and it will say if you have enough traffic, and here's how real users experience your site out of 100. And if that's big red lights, then go make it faster. And that will depend on who your audience are and how your site's built. But make it faster until Google stops saying it's slow.
Okay, cool. Any additions, Iris?
No, I was just looking up the anatomy of a product page.
Cool.
Oh, nice.
You put it already in the chat.
Yeah.
Nice
Amazing.
Job. Cool. So you also talked about specific review sites, right? So Liz is asking, could you recommend any review sites? And maybe it's also interesting if you have any advice on how to maybe get on those sites.
I think we named Trustpilot and G2. I think those are the 2 most popular ones, and then next to your own platform as well. But personally, I would recommend those 2. Not sure about you, Jono.
Yeah, those 2 are the big ones. I'd also check out Google reviews. It depends on your vertical. If you're doing local stuff, then also Google Maps, Google reviews, and Yelp and similar are really important as well. We know they directly feed into Google's algorithm, so worth looking at those.
Yeah.
Cool. I guess that's enough to start with, at least. So another question from Charlotte. If you have a product that is out of stock, would you delete it even with an SEO strategy on that page, or keep it on the page with some internal links to other products? Or
this is so hard.
Completely different.
Yeah, it's not an SEO webinar without the phrase "it depends," right? So I think one of the things it depends on is it going to come back into stock? And if it is, then do not delete that, because you're going to start again with a brand new page and a brand new set of links and metrics. If you know that one day it might come back into stock, you can do some nice stuff. You can do a little email box saying, let us know when it's back in, let me know when it's back in stock. You can still maintain all your internal linkings. You might do like a little overlay saying, here's some related stuff you want instead. If it's gone forever, it's tricky. Is it a good user experience to delete that page and redirect it to the parent category? Maybe it depends. It's probably not a good experience just to serve a 404 ever, but you don't want to be doing lots and lots of redirects at scale back to the home page. Really think about the user. Think about the user and think, if you delete that page, all your hard work is gone. So don't be in a rush to do that. But yeah, it's really about what's the best experience here.
Cool. Good advice. I hope that helps, Charlotte. If not, give a shout. I'm seeing thanks. So I think everything is clear. Very nice.
Yes.
I think we have time for one more final question. Let me see which one gets some high upvotes. So this one is interesting, I think.
Mm.
If we have a unique handmade product with no SKU, can you provide info for the best info to get higher ratings in SEO?
Wow, I guess that's tricky. You're not going to get like, yeah, you're gonna struggle to appear in the kind, like, is it something people know about? Is it stuff they're searching for? You might have a huge advantage. Like, so many people are competing for the same products in the same spaces. If you're doing something unique or doing something uniquely, you can get cut through, and you can write big old blog posts. You can win hearts and minds. You can get cut through. Yeah, you're going to struggle in things like Google Marketplace because you don't have a thing that fits neatly on a shelf with an SKU. But you can go down other routes, and you can use social media and other channels to grow awareness and demand. Yeah, with pros and cons.
Yeah, I'm thinking about, for instance, if you're selling handmade jewelry or something specific, make sure that you describe the product. So if people are looking for a blue bracelet, they're able to find you. But then also make sure that you use your uniqueness on social to profile yourself and get people get an idea of what the type of products you're selling, and so that they can come back to you and recommend it to your friends. So it goes more organically that way. So you can become an authority a little bit differently, but very nice.
Yeah, and I think if you have handmade products, you're most likely you work in a niche, and a niche most likely has long tail keywords, and you can definitely own that space. So
Yeah,
long
nice.
tail keywords are keywords like 4, 5, 6 or more words in them. So maybe even the handmade is already a niche in for some products. So yeah, there's definitely stuff you can do there. Okay, we are already 5 minutes over time, so
Oh, no.
I guess that's it for today. Again, at the bottom, you can get your checklist. If you want to have it right now, we will also email the checklist and the replay of this webinar tomorrow via email to all of you that registered. So you will get that in your mailbox. And if you want to have a Yoast product with 30% off, use the BFBF 2022 code. I had to write it or to read it again. I will post it again in the chat.
Complicated.
For you all to look at. So thank you very much for this webinar, Iris, Jono. Thank you very much for attending. I hope you all learned a thing or two or even more. And we hope to see you at the next webinar. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.
Thanks for having us.